What I believe to be the most important and distinguishable aspect of Magic the Gathering is the stack, more specifically instant speed game actions. There's a reason why Vedalken Orrery, Leyline of Anticipation, or even Yeva Nature's Herald by themselves, without the support of resource untappers, are regarded as threats by more experienced players, just because a player is able to do everything they would have done on their turn during the end step of the turn before theirs, allowing them to dodge a suite of sorcery speed interaction. The different types of instant speed game actions allow for the best possible experience in a game of Magic, countering an opponent's key card that would have let them run with the game, removing a newly cast threat, fogging what would have been a big hit to your life total, and even casting creatures the end step before yours, giving those creatures pseudo haste. So, today's goal is to create a commander deck that can effectively abuse instant speed game actions to be able to use the stack to its advantage, allowing for a more reactive game plan, and being around $100. Tayam Luminous Enigma, costing a whole 1 and an Abzan, has a 3/3 stat line and reads, each other creature enters the battlefield with an additional vigilance counter on it, and by paying 3 mana of any color in addition to removing 3 counters from among creatures you control, you essentially mill 3 and recur target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, what makes Tayam what I believe to be the perfect reactive commander is that they seem to be missing a line of text that seems present on many other creatures just like it. Akul, the Unrepentant, Geth, Thane of Contracts, and Osgir the Reconstructor all have one thing in common that Tayam doesn't. The line activate only as a sorcery. Essentially, the point I'm trying to make is that other similar commanders with strong recursion effects are usually balanced out by being restricted to a sorcery speed game action. Now, most initial impressions of this card may see Tayam as a go-wide strategy, using them as a support piece rather than being the binder that holds a deck together. But what's interesting about Tayam is they aren't restricted to the type of counters they can remove. And one Scryfall search later reveals that there are a lot of creatures that enter the battlefield with a set number of +1/+1 counters on them rather than having a power and toughness, setting in stone the direction in which I took this deck. There are a total of 15 creatures with an effect like this, as this drives the core mechanic of our game plan. On Tayam activation, we remove 3 counters from these creatures, ensuring that they hit our graveyard. Now, there are a few things that can be accounted for during this interaction. Since the creature hits the graveyard as a part of the activation cost, if we didn't find a desirable target based on the milled cards or what was already in our graveyard, we can just recur that same creature back, allowing us to dig 3 cards deeper again for another 3 mana. I think at this point I should bring up what I believe to be the best card for this deck is. It's Illusionist's Bracers, to no one's surprise, as it allows us to both recur the fathered creature and another permanent. But the inner hippie deck tinker in me didn't really want to take this route, as I wanted to find a more synergistic package for this deck list. With this mantra in mind, it led to the addition of cards that create a creature token on death in an attempt to break the loop of essentially sacking and recurring the same target. And to keep the deck mana efficient, I added Cryptolith Rite-esque effects accompanied by Thousand Year Elixir or Tevar Exuberant Brawler so that we can immediately use both the tokens and the recurred creature as mana dorks. With regards to covering deck weaknesses, on the other hand, the deck is susceptible to Pithing Needle-like effects, Hushbringer, and Grave Hate effects. But the great thing about Tayam is their pseudo-toolboxy nature, as all our possible forms of interaction can be recurred. There's Grasp of Fate to deal with onboard threats, Green Slime to stop Rest in Peace or Tormod's Crypt-like activations, and Severance Priest to catch silver bullets before our opponents can even fire them. The deck by nature is, well, slow, as we don't really have a clean, reliable ramp package, nor do we use any form of efficient mana cheating, but what we do have is the addition of Rule of Law, as we both slow down the game and essentially break parity through our dependency on Tayam activations rather than casting spells. Since the deck is extremely dependent on keeping the commander on board, there are a few different ways we have to protect them. For one, we have Flicker Wisp and Guardian of Girapur to essentially phase him out, Kaya's Ghost form as a way to deter single target removal, and Minion's Return as a more reactive independent protection option. Now after all of that, you must be asking, hey Food Token, that deck seems to do a lot of things for a whole lot of nothing, and doesn't seem to have a clear win condition. And to that I say, well, that's pretty accurate. The deck is meant to seem dirtly, as you tend to accidentally go infinite if you have enough synergy pieces on the board at once. And when you do, as a precaution can exile everyone's hand, board, and graveyard, then win using either Monoscallion or Unscrupulous Contractor to close out the game. When it came to playtesting, early on, the deck is able to deter more aggressive opponents as we run a lot of cheap creatures. During the mid-game, this is where the deck shines the most, as we're able to chump block and sack, deterring non-trampling bigger threats, and flexibly respond to disruption by digging through continuous activations. Personally, I found it best that you never keep a hand without fodder for Tayam and to just play slow before casting them or until you can either protect or activate their ability once. Well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed my approach in building a more reactive deck in EDH. And if you guys want to take a proper gander at Abzan Game Action Bonanza, the deck list can be found on Moxfield using the link below. If you have any suggestions for improving the deck, don't be coy on leaving a comment on this video.